I mean, we're her second adopted family. First one gave her back. I don't think she's a little girl.
First of all, congratulations on this show. For you, I know people obviously love you as Meredith Grey, but I think people are going to be really excited to see you in something totally different from that. So I'm curious for you, why did this project feel like the perfect thing to sort of follow that up with? And how do you feel like your 2 decades on that show sort of prepared you for this?
I think that the character of Kristine is someone I could disappear into, completely different in every way, different sounding, different looking. So as an actor, that's what you hope for, right? Someone who dresses different, looks different, sounds different, has different emotions. So that part was right there, sort of all on the page, and then we all came together and created this character. And then, sorry, what was the second part of your question?
Just sort of how being on a show for that long, prepared you to step into another role.
Oh, girl. I'm so excited. It prepares you because you're like, please let me do something else. I love Meredith. I love Grey's Anatomy. Love all the fans. Yeah. But please let me do something else.
Yes.
Let's see if I still have it. Let's see if I can,
You absolutely do. Let me reassure you.
Yes. Thank you.
I have to say, something I really love about Val, too, is she's not just the stereotypical best friend role. There's a lot of really interesting dynamics between the two of you sort of simmering under the surface with fame and finances and things like that. So I'm curious how you sort of approached your dynamic as Val.
I think that it was that's part of what was so fun about it, right? Is having this, Velika comes from privilege. I keep calling her Velika, but yes, in the show she's Val. We had a fun, great conversation with the showrunner early on. I had a conversation with her and I said, I'm South Asian. Yeah. Let's make her South Asian. But let's make her South Asian, but she calls herself Val, right? Mm-hmm. There's already a story that tells. She's Velika, but she goes by Val to keep it easy, to stay in that same, American world, right? And so that in and of itself tells a story about Val. And then we see that she's a woman of privilege, and we see that she comes from money. And there's this moment that, you see Kristine doesn't have money, and Kristine has really helped her navigate her relationship with her neurodivergent daughter. And now comes this intense friendship, which there's this history, there's this foundation, that's the word. There's a foundation of, I want to pay you back. Yeah. And then from that wanting to pay her back builds this blind devotion. Yeah. And you really watch what that turns into. And it's a really interesting dynamic to watch over years. And I love that we got to build that and watch it unravel.
Yeah. And for Kristine, I think that Val represents everything she wants to be. She wants to have money. She wants to be polished and look so successful. And, she's so glamorous. And so they represent for each other their best version of what they could be.
Totally.
And so if I could only be that, if I could only have that closet. We had a lot of fun filming the scene where she's letting her borrow clothes in the closet. And that's sort of the crux of it right there is she's getting to wear her clothes. She just is everything she aspires to be.
It's like projection the whole time. Mm-hmm. They're just... Yeah.
It's so juicy, and there's just so many complex things in this. And another point I wanted to bring up is there's so much intergenerational trauma here, which I find really fascinating. Obviously, we see Kristine and Michael, sort of falling into these dynamics that they saw in childhood and sort of perpetuating these things. So I'm curious how that helped you sort of understand your character, because it feels like a very enlightening sort of part of her.
Mm. Yeah. Well, it's enlightening and tricky subject matter all at the same time, because the truth is in having 3 kids of my own, you really can mess your kids up. A few wrong moves. And you can really mess them up when we have so much responsibility. Everything we say, everything we do, they watch everything, they absorb everything. And I think that that's an incredible message of this show is we bring our childhood trauma into our children's lives. And so many people who hurt have been hurt. Mm-hmm. And so I think, more empathy is always a good thing for human beings, less judgment, more empathy, because a lot of people who hurt have been hurt. Yeah. And so that's why it's really important to try to keep our kids safe and unharmed.
Yeah, I'm curious about that too, because obviously you do go home to kids at the end of the day, and I imagine playing some of these scenes probably does take a toll on you, even though it is obviously fictional. I'm curious how you sort of made sure to keep that separate, or sort of took care of yourself through filming some of this stuff.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. Yeah. And again, I think that I relied heavily on my actors, my co-actors. We really got along great, and we really were there for each other, because all of us, regardless of whether we had super tricky scenes or not, we were very aware of the story that we're telling. Yeah. And so we relied heavily on each other and supported each other, and we're there for each other and trying to find light moments when we could find light moments. And right before we started filming, unfortunately, a good friend of mine passed away very suddenly, and I was so mad and sad and all of the things. And I remember just like at the table read, I was just like trying not to cry. You know, I was just so, he had just passed away, and it was in it, and it was a situation where I tried to get to him, and it was just didn't need to happen. And so there's so much of like, why did this happen? It shouldn't have happened. And I'm a doctor, for Christ's sakes. So I was carrying a lot of emotion with me, very raw, fresh emotion, walking into the filming of this show. So that did help me.
Yeah, I guess one almost final question for you. This show has a lot of female talent behind the scenes too, which is really exciting, between the creators and the showrunners and the executive producers, which obviously you take on that role as well. So I'm curious for both of you what it is like working on a set that is so sort of female forward, and what do you think the importance of that is, because it is unfortunately still so rare nowadays.
I mean, it's great.
Yeah, I will say I learned it because I have been witness to it in Shondaland. So Shonda taught it to me. I don't know that I would have known it without her. Shonda set the example. That's my life. That's our life on Grey's, is inclusivity. And a lot of women everywhere. I've always brought my children. My daughters have come to set and seen all the female directors and the female camera people, and, you know, just everything. So again, going back to sort of what our kids experience, or what we experience, then we pass down to our kids. The same goes for our experiences in Hollywood. Whatever we are able to learn from other people, whatever good experiences we have and we learn from, we're then able to bring those into other jobs and other sets. And we mimic what we see. And I've been really, really lucky to have incredible people, Shonda Rhimes, Debbie Allen, you know, around me. And so I can't really take credit. I'm just, I guess, a good student. And then also, sorry, not to interrupt you, but like also like listening to people, what's important to people, you know, communicating and listening to people. We had this great conversation. I hope it's okay if I share about
I don't know which ones.
About co-stars, you know, about, you know, and there is no show without all of the actors.
That's right.
Right? And so it's always about lifting everybody up and seeing everybody as equal, because sometimes, you know, in this media or whatever, certain people get all the love and attention, right? And that doesn't really serve anyone.
Well, and to that point, I mean, that's what I will say I really appreciate about Ellen. And also, I do think it's paramount to me to be on sets where there are more women, and I want to talk about intersectionality as well. I think it's really important. Inclusion. We had disabled actors who were very well supported and cared for. I don't want to speak for them. I hope that is true for them. That's what I saw. But I will say that all around, seeing more intersectionality is really important to me, and I do see it more and more, and I want to see it more. Yeah. And it was one of the warmest sets I've ever been on, and I consistently told people that. I was like, what the this is fucking great. Like, what? Like, I can be like, hey, I need to, can I just have like a minute to myself? And they'd be like, take 15. I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, there was kindness, there was conversations, there was an ability for me to start the show, right? And say, hey, I think I'm South Asian. I know I'm South Asian, but let's make Valika South Asian. And that was met with an absolutely. There was no pause, there's no hesitation. There's oh, of course. Yeah. What feels right? How do we do that? So I think that, you know, the more sets I'm on where that conversation is welcome is what I'm always looking for, I'm gonna have the conversation whether it's welcome or not. I mean, that
As
we
you
all
should.
know.
As you should.
But what I appreciate are the environments where it is welcome, and I can say wholeheartedly every single day on this set, I felt valued, I felt respected, I felt like I was treated as a full cast member, not like there was some sort of hierarchy. And as someone who's been doing this for 20 years and has been treated quite horribly in certain instances, as we all have, but I can say, you know, it always makes my heart so full and brings some tears to my eyes because the gratitude I feel for those moments are immense. Yeah. And I will always fight for more of those moments for everyone.
Yes. Well, on that note, what a great way to end. I feel
Ladies and gentlemen, sorry.
so inspired being in the room with you. So thank you so much.
Thank
this
you
was such
so
a wonderful
much.
conversation, and I'm so excited for everyone to get to see the show.
Thank you so much, Taylor.
So important, so many twists and turns as well.
Thank
We
you.
love it. So thank you guys so much.
It was nice to meet
Taylor.
you.